Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are fine. And in today's video, we are going to have a super nice discussion with Satyajit. He's from India. He recently grabbed one offer from Germany. Also, he had an offer in Sweden, but he chose Germany over Sweden. Let's see how it all went for him. What was the process? So let's get started with today's video. So before you start, there is a small disclaimer. This video is going to be very long. So if you want specific question that has been answered, then please do check out the timestamp. Hey Satyajit, can you just give a short intro?
Hello. Thank you for inviting me to your channel. I'm much blessed that way. My short intro here. I'm Satyajit, as already introduced by Ashutosh. So, I work in Bangalore with a company named Western Digital. I am a full-time UI developer. Mainly loves JavaScript. I have a total of 8.5 years of experience in web development. Only I started my journey with Java and went into the world of Angular and then React. Worked across multiple companies like Wipro and then Fidelity Investment and now Western Digital. So now I am with the offer in Germany. So let's delve into that with your questions. So hopefully you will get to know more about that.
Yeah. So the first question that I have in my mind is that why did you first of all decided to go out of India? I mean, there are a lot of opportunities in India as well. So why did you choose to come out of India?
Yeah. So to take you into my hobbies part, one of my hobbies is to travel and do a bit of backpacking to these places. So the first time I ever went to Europe was the couple of places in France, Belgium, and Netherlands, and bam, I was in love with Europe. Their culture, the climate is not that a big factor, but yeah, all the essence of living in Europe was very amazing to me in that one visit to Europe. So after coming back from that one visit, I was thinking a lot. Why not work in Europe? And once you are in Europe, you will get to visit all the countries which are there in Europe. So that was the main reason, traveling. Plus, and then second, obviously, the reasons are known to everybody. The great work-life culture and the pay, and lot of companies, a good community of UI developers. All these things attracted a culmination of these things. And a third factor which was like coming out of my anguish, like in India, I've seen in your previous videos where people have said that they waited for on-site or deputation from India, but for some bureaucracy in their companies, they were not getting opportunities to go to US, Canada, Australia. But thankfully, my mind was changed by my peers, friends who said that go on your own. So the idea of going on your own attracted me. Like, I have the skill, why not try on my own? Why should I wait for the opportunity given by somebody else? These were the few reasons that attracted me to Europe.
Great. Yeah, yeah, you'll see a significant difference in the work-life balance once you come here and start working. Yeah. So the first question I had, we already had a discussion with you. You also had an offer from Sweden. After that, you got another offer from Berlin. Can we just discuss about how did you apply? Can you just walk through that?
Definitely. So I started my preparation way back in September last year, 2020. Preparation as in I started applying to jobs. I didn't really have a place in my mind to start with. Like, I knew that Germany is much coveted country to work as an IT developer, but then I also was open for Austria, Switzerland, Denmark, Sweden. I had a series of rejections. I gave a lot of interviews where I rejected at several stages of interview, like at somewhere at the second stage or third stage or fourth round of interview. I was rejected a lot. Like, after my 11th company or 10th or 11th company, where finally I converted a Swedish company which is based in Stockholm. I won't take the name just for the liberty. I didn't know much about it, first of all, and I was more attracted to Germany. I'll come to the reasons why I preferred a job in Germany, because now the situation that I was in. The first offer that I got was from Sweden back in February, and in the same month I was in different stages of interview with companies from Germany. The one finally which I accepted, and finally I got that offer from the Berlin company in March. So I was in a bit of a turmoil situation. Should I continue with the Swedish company or should I go with the Berlin company? The company in Berlin triumphed for several reasons, because it had better reviews from my peers and over online forums, and then it was paying quite a lot for Berlin. Like you know, Stockholm is quite expensive in comparison to Berlin. So the pay factor was also coming in pictures. I was getting less in Stockholm with expensive life. So definitely, that was one of the reasons. And third reason, again, the hobby of traveling came into picture. Like it's Berlin is almost in the center of Europe, right? You can go. I don't know. This is my opinion, because I'm just talking from India, right? You have traveled more than me in Europe, so you can argue on that. But I
Yeah.
felt that it's in the center of Europe, so you can go to other countries very easy. That was one of the reasons. And again, fourth reason, which you have mentioned in your blogs earlier, that the climate is quite cold in Sweden. Turns out to be depressing for people from tropical countries like that of our country, India. So I think you are also struggling with the climate over there. So when I had Berlin offer, I obviously went with the better one. Although the climate factor is not that great in Berlin, it's cold out there also, but much better in comparison to Sweden.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, winter is really bad, but I have heard that Berlin is also very cold in winter, but I don't really know because I never had there in winter. Maybe there won't be that much snow, but here it's very snowy here in winter. So yeah, yeah, it's obviously a personal choice, and obviously the pay factor is definitely there. So yeah, that's a good decision. Is there anything extra that you prepare for, applying for this job, or that, I mean, the kind of work you did in your, old company that helped you, or you specifically prepared for any kind of interviews or like that?
uh, Pandemic kind of was a boon for me. There has been a lot of terrible things happening out there, but what happened was that I was working for a company in Bangalore which was more into financial base, and a lot of bureaucracy was that you don't write a lot of code there, a lot of agile methodology. So I was not learning much there. So I was doing a lot of work in Angular, which was fairly not prominent in Europe, as I found later. Fortunately enough, that I just switched just before the pandemic. I switched to Western Digital, my current company, which has a startup mindset when it comes to software, because Western Digital is a hardware company, so they don't know much about software. So they gave a free hand. So they gave all the tools, all the leverage of certification. So I went about and fortunately enough, all the application that I was working was on React, which is quite popular in Europe. So I happened to just pick that route and upskill myself with React JS, Java, advanced JavaScript, CSS, HTML. Just before this, I was a little confused. I was trying to go into the lines of full stack developer by learning Java also and JavaScript. It was getting a little confusing for me. So I was not really doing justice by learning one particular thing. So I thought, why be? There's a saying like master of one at least. So I went with the React JS trade, and wherever on LinkedIn, on my resumes, I tried to show my picture as a full-time front-end developer with fully React JS. I removed a lot of things which I did in Angular and tried to show it as what the recruiters wanted in Europe, which was mostly around React, Apollo GraphQL, DevOps, Docker, Jenkins. So while I say that I added these things to my resume, this was not easy, because in this 1 year I had to do a lot of hands-on on these technical things, and also I did a lot of courses on Udemy to upskill myself. I just chose random React.js courses. I used to join conferences by various developers who used to teach things and tell about new things in the React.js world. So all these things I tried to upskill myself. While I was upskilling, One mistake that I did, which is a suggestion to my fellow developers or fellow job seekers in Germany or Europe, that I was not applying to jobs. I thought I will upskill myself, and finally, if I get comfortable with my skills, I'll go ahead and apply for jobs. But that was wrong to do on my part. I should have right away done both the things parallelly, like apply jobs. I know. Eventually, I after September, I did the same thing. I was learning a lot of technical things and applying to jobs also. So while giving interviews, I used to get to know, okay, I lag in this particular technology, or I do very bad in JavaScript. Maybe I should upskill in problem solving. Maybe I should watch more videos on design architecture. So this is like a step by step approach. It's not like Rome was not built in a day, right? So it almost took like 6 to 8 months for me, both upskilling and applying jobs.
Okay, okay. So I have seen in many videos, like when people apply jobs in Google or Facebook, they ask a lot of things about DS algo. So the same thing happened with you, or it was React and only related to React and stuff?
Yeah, definitely these companies were asking about DS algo. So that's the first barrier actually. Wherever I gave my interview or applied for, the first round would be informational, as you might be knowing. Like the HR would come and see the suitability of your profile with the job description at hand. Once they do that, right away they will send you a coding challenge, and this coding challenge most likely will be into a problem solving thing. Like you have tools like Codility, HackerRank, Lead Code. So they will just use these platforms to give you a random problem solving, and you have to get there will be a time limit for that, like within 3 hours maybe you have to do 2 to 3 problems. And there are some other kinds of coding challenges where they were not worried about the problem solving skill of the candidate. They used to give right away the use cases of a React.js application, a full-fledged application. They would give the API details, and you have to make a bare minimum UI for them with writing with a TDD approach, test-driven approach, writing unit test cases with best approaches of writing JavaScript code, all those things. So these were two kinds of coding challenges, but definitely problem solving was there. But again, coming to that point, these FANG companies that you mentioned, the level of problem solving and data structures that they ask, you might not find at all the European companies. It depends on the company. If it is a fairly like nominal company, you will be done with a very easy problem. Otherwise, if it's a very hard, I actually appeared for a hard companies, and mostly in the coding challenges round I was kicked out because the results were not that good. So definitely, yeah, you have to, while you are preparing with your technical skills, upskilling, you should also devote some time to problem solving, algos, data structures. That's definitely needed.
Yeah. So one suggestion, as Satyajit mentioned, then you started preparing for interviews. Also start applying for jobs side by side. Instead of putting that thing the end, try to do it side by side when you're preparing for the interviews. So the next question that I have is, like, you had offer from Sweden and Berlin. So like the interview process pretty much the same, or it's like completely different? How the interview process was?
I gave interviews to 12 companies, around 12 companies, including London. There was one company which I appeared in London as well. Across all these interview rounds, one flavor was that one informational round, one coding challenge, two technical rounds, one behavioral round, and finally the managerial or the HR round. So this will be the flavor. How they break it, it depends on the company. Like the Swedish company which I gave, I almost had around 10 rounds of interview. But when I have to summarize it, if I really give you the details about it, would block your calendar for like 3 to 4 hours on an afternoon of Friday, and all those 3 rounds will be back to back. You will be just given 15 minutes, and back to back each technical interviewer will come and ask. So that way 3 rounds were getting done in one day. Finally, another final set of round will be happening, which will have different set of behavioral rounds, bar raiser, all those things. And one thing that was different in this Sweden company, that they did logical reasoning round. Like you have to, they had some kind of a online tool where you have to
Aptitude.
appear for 18 questions. If you do, like, if the score is more than 15, only then you go to the final round. That was one odd thing which happened in all these interviews. Otherwise, these are the only 5 6 interviews which goes technical, behavioral, bar raiser, and finally the manager, and one coding challenge round, which will be the first barrier. You won't even talk to the team or the technical interviewers if you haven't done well in the coding challenge. So that's the first barrier to cross.
So when you say that, technical rounds, how was the technical round here? It was like more of a scenario based, or it's like syntax related things or something like that. How was it?
So for UI developers, it doesn't make sense to ask the code. Most likely, a backend developer will be taking the interviewer, and they will be most interested in problem solving. So even if I get a UI developer as a interviewer in the first round, they wouldn't ask the code. They code from React.js or the frameworks like Angular or Vue. They will most interested about the different aspects of JavaScript. Maybe they will give us snippet of JavaScript, paste it on some kind of a tool online which they are also able to see. They will say, what's wrong with this code, can you make this better? Maybe they will give a very short problem solving statement, can you do it in JavaScript, can you use promises in a better way so that we can see some kind of effects. All those things, snippets that will give them clarity, okay, this guy knows his stuff. The two companies that I cracked, the first round was really interesting. They had purely pair programming. Like they were ready with the React.js UI, like a base program with several of the pages done, and there were several use cases written in the README file. The interviewer asks, "What would you do?" and they will see what you are coding, how is your approach, and that's where you have to use your head to. Generally, we don't do test driven development in our usual life, but I pushed myself to do TDD on the interview itself, so that impressed them also. So all these things, like the pair programming session in the first round was quite challenging. Like it went for, I think, 2 hours or something. We developed a full page as described in the README file. So different kinds of flavor. Mostly they will ask syntaxes only from JavaScript for a UI developer. Something which might be in framework like a React.js, they might not go. They might ask theoretical questions like what happens actually, why is React.js even there, why it is better than Angular, or all those theoretical questions they might ask just to disturb you. But otherwise they are most interested in how you think, how you behave, all those things. Eventually even technical rounds will contain behavioral questions which you have to answer in a format which they call as STAR, like situation, task, action, result. So in this format, if you answer the questions to the behavioral questions, they are most likely they look at the behavior of the candidate, and that's the major portion where the candidates score point, or where the interviewers are interested.
Right. A lot of people ask me that, how to apply for these jobs outside India. Like, is it only LinkedIn, or did you have any references outside India that you connected and then you got this opportunity, or it's only LinkedIn?
I actually, thanks to channels like yours, there are many like Bharat in Germany, Men's Pro. They keep doing collaboration with people who are already in Germany. So all these things were little back in 2019. I think the number of videos have increased in this pandemic, where a lot of information is available out there. For me, it was not available. Very little information from these channels like Men's Pro and all those things. Websites like Stepstone, LinkedIn, Stack Overflow. These websites, I started making my resume just like I would make a profile on LinkedIn. I started making on these. The problem with these websites was that most of them were in local language, and the traction was not much. So eventually towards the end of the year 2020, I realized that I should just stick to LinkedIn. So if somebody comes to me asking for a suggestion today, I would say don't deviate away from LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the central position. Just be on LinkedIn, make as many as connections possible, follow as many people as you want from the companies that you like, that where you want to work, or where your friends work in Europe. follow these companies, because the HRs of this company will again put on their timelines that this is the vacancy available in in their company. That's how you will come to know and you will apply to those jobs. This is for only the companies that you like and follow. But LinkedIn Jobs is the section on LinkedIn where everything is there. I think I was fortunate that I am a React developer. I will if I just type React, I will get thousands of jobs just in Berlin. So I just applied everything. I think I would have applied like thousands of jobs across in this last 1 year. But again, patience is the key. You'll keep getting rejections. You will be feeling disappointed. Why did you even waste my time? But all those things will happen. The rejections will happen, and again, rejections will happen during the interview rounds itself. But the key is patience. Keep upskilling, all those things. So the major suggestion would be just stick to LinkedIn. Keep applying to your jobs and see what the job description says. Like, let's say you are just a JavaScript developer and the JD says that React.js is good to have, Angular is a good to have. Maybe you should concentrate on that. Just buy a Udemy course or go to YouTube, learn React.js or Angular or Vue.js and just upskill yourself and get ready for those vacancies.
Another question that I have, like, whenever it comes to work in European countries, okay, language is a very, very big factor. Or whatever jobs you have converted, I mean, was there a requirement in any of the companies that you have to at least learn German or Swedish?
For both the companies which I was selected, both in Sweden and Berlin, there was not really a requirement of the language. There were job applications I applied to did mention that German is good to have or must have German, but most likely those were like in companies like Deutsche Bahn, which is a government company for transport in Germany. So the most likely you have to know German, because obviously the employees will be local and will be knowing Deutsch. So as you have also mentioned in your vlogs, for IT developers and someone who is working in IT domain, I don't think it's a necessity. But again, it's appreciated that you are put in efforts. Like in your cover letter, if you mention that I'm currently having A1 level of courses for Deutsch or Swedish, I think it will catch the recruiter's eyes. But again, friends that I have who are appearing alongside me, they're like scrum masters or product managers, something which is not technical. They're struggling a bit to get a job, because the job description says that German is a must have. They might even mention B1, which is very difficult to have right away.
So a suggestion is that if you are into a role like Scrum Master or any other managerial role, you should switch to IT to get a job easily in Europe. When I came here to Sweden, I was like having 5 years of experience, and Satyajit is having like almost 8 or 8.5 years of experience. Do you really think that is it a good advice to a student or a fresher who is who just started his career at this early age? Is it a good advice to start looking for jobs outside India, or is it good to have some experience and then you apply? I mean, is there a chance that they will get selected?
I think experience doesn't matter, because why I say that, because I have an example in my close circles who just passed out of college in Odisha, and just because pandemic happened, he could not join his company. He just started applying to companies in London, and he got a job. Because and that is as good as zero experience, but that company just took him because maybe he already did computer engineering. That could have been a plus point. But again, during the course of 4 years of his engineering, he did React.js and a lot of web development. So that's how he cracked it. If somebody who has just 2 to 3 years experience, yes, you can apply it. Only that you should be you can sell your skill. Like if you're skilled enough to get the job, I think there shouldn't be any barrier. And I have seen a lot of openings in LinkedIn jobs which would ask 3 plus, 2 plus, 5 plus easily. If I had known that this is possible like way back in 2015, I would have applied. God knows why YouTube didn't exist back then. It existed, but not much information was there.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, even I also did not know that you can apply jobs in India for Europe or any other countries. So I also didn't know that. I know that you are into React and web development. But apart from React, what all technology that you will suggest someone to focus?
One thing that I kept Googling while I was at my job search was what are the top five kind of jobs in Europe, and it kept throwing back full stack developer, back end developer, and UI developer only came at fifth position. So I think you'll get more jobs for full stack development, and there is something called as DevOps engineering, which ended up in rank 3. If you are in third year of your engineering, if you do a certification in any of the cloud infrastructure, it will add on to your resume, one. And second, it will give you an idea how an enterprise works. Like, you would write a code, how would you take it to production? And most of the applications these days are on cloud infrastructure. Most of them who are in legacy, they are wanting to move to cloud. So one thing would be that start with a certification that of a cloud, maybe, if you're interested in technical. While you are at it, you have to also put a tab on one particular technology. Let's say choose Java, which is more popular in backend development. Just choose it and do a lot of problem solving algorithms. I think you will crack much better company. Maybe one of the FANG companies, Facebook, Netflix, Google. So start with Java backend development, and then a bit of DevOps, and a cloud certification adds on to your resume. All these things, JavaScript or Java. There are so many languages. You can just pick one. Golang, Python. You can just pick a language, and then you can get into any stream you like in technical world.
All right. Yeah. So, last question I want to ask, that it's obviously not a technical question. It's not related to technology. That you told that you have had rejection from like 11 companies, and then you got this offers. It must have been very frustrating. Any point of time that you thought that no, chuck it, I will not look for jobs outside India. I'll start looking at jobs in India. So, did you think like that?
To be frank, it happened to me. I frustrated. I gave up on the whole process of it. It's okay to take a break. Means what I did. I won't say what I did was completely wrong. So back when maybe November, I was literally after 8 to 10 hours of office, I would immediately switch into assignment mode. Like after 7 o'clock, I'll open, try solve the assignments given by these companies, which I have to solve maybe in 1 week's time, or in a day's time, or a 2 days time. So it was becoming overwhelming. Like I was almost at it for 16 hours at a stretch. I was not doing anything other than that. So at when I finally got rejected by a company which was in London, which was, I was almost at the last but one round, like the design round, and I goofed up majorly in this. Like uh, told some really bad answers, which I later realized. So that went in my head. I was so frustrated, and finally talked to myself, okay, this is getting overwhelming. Let me take a break of 15-30 days. It was December, so lean period in most of the companies. So I took a break. I was giving time mostly to my parents. I was not able to talk to my parents at that time, so I realized that. So I went back to family and started going out a bit, because the lockdown in India was fairly opening in major parts, almost all the parts of India back then. So we went out for some trips, and just to get out of that frustration mode, I freshly started in January. And there was a strategy also in this, because my friends in Germany told that mostly people will be out in December. Even if you send them an email, most likely you will get a reply only after they come back from their vacation. So I didn't put much effort. In January, I put the stamp on my LinkedIn saying open to work, and bam, I didn't have to apply to jobs. All the HRs were reaching out to me.
I think I just wanted to mention that we are not expert in this. We are just sharing our
Frankly, I
experiences.
am not an expert.
So it's really motivating Satyajit, your story is really motivating, and thank you so very much for all your inputs. It will definitely help people.
My pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then do not forget to hit the like button. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe to this channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.